Hello, everyone. We are having our kind of Great Lakes West or Regen Midwest uh, bi-weekly call, and we were just also talking a little bit about what that pulse might look like moving forward and the other kinds of planning activities. But we want to start with a little hello check-in from everybody. Stacia, you want to go ahead?
Hi everyone, I'm here in La Crosse. Uh, there I am, enjoying the day. Cold.
Danielle Johnson, DeKalb, Illinois. Yeah, had a couple of beautiful days. Spent them outside by a lagoon. Had a good time. Checking in well.
Mm.
Um,
Tyler Hart, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Um, yeah, can you hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, feeling good. I am at one of my projects right now. I'll be working a little bit, listening to the call. I got to hang a microwave, install a dishwasher and stove and that type of stuff. I have a house going up on the market this week, but yeah, good. Spent a lot of time outside. Tiffany's been doing a lot of work in the garden, and yeah, just excited for all things spring and summer and all the life and activity and speed of everything that seems to be happening. So, feeling good.
awesome. Anna? Anna?
Hi, I just posted on the little thread for this group on the design school, what's it called, Mighty Network. I'm actually in Cascadia, but I was hoping to connect with folks in the bioregionalism movement in the Great Lakes about an event coming up this summer. So I just posted a little thing saying like, hey, could I drop it on your call? It just, when I went to look, I was like, oh, there's a call starting in 15 minutes. I might as well just join it. So if y'all are okay with having me here, just kind of
Yeah,
fly on the wall to chat about something. Cool. Awesome.
fantastic. Welcome. Everyone, everyone, my turn? Daniel, okay. And I'm Karen, and I am in Milwaukee, and it's a little bit cold here today. We had some warm weather for just a minute, and it got kind of hopeful for that, but back into kind of 30s and 40s, it feels like today. Um, but super happy to be here with you all. And I have a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and otherwise, we'll just kind of check in and visit and talk about what's going on in your worlds. Okay, so the couple of things I'll talk about. One I alluded to just at the beginning of the call here is that some of us are meeting in person weekly to Tiffany Hart and I decided to meet on Thursday afternoons in person in Milwaukee here and to work on organizing bioregionally, structurally, databases, maps, lists, getting into like, all right, let's clear off the table and put a bunch of things here and she's quite an artist. I mean, she has this sketchbook that is kind of the visual storytelling of the story of the region and all these different entities that are doing pro-social regenerative work in our urban space here. Um, and so in addition to every other week that this is on the design school calendar, the fill-in weeks, the opposite Mondays, Danielle and I have agreed that we're going to just hold space and talk about planning and structuring and this, getting a newsletter out or, having a calendar and that monthly kind of communication about upcoming events. And we don't expect people to jump in at this stage because we're still several months out, but we are. I've already, been announcing that we're going to do an event October 18th and 19th here in Milwaukee that is the second iteration of Regenerate MKE, which was a street fair that we did in October a few months ago. And so it's also uh, the weekend right before a climate conference, an academic conference hosted by the University of Minnesota, but it happens to be in the city of Milwaukee, called the Midwest Climate Resilience Conference. And I am about to hit send on submitting a paper with another person from the design school, not a paper, but we're going to do a workshop to talk about bioregional imagination and, decolonizing the imagination and thinking bioregionally and kind of pulling in these themes. And we're going to talk about samba and dancing and capoeira and yoga. And so, because Zach's name just went, his last name just went away from my brain. Uh, Zach Barney. He, uh, I don't know what Axe means. Or
Ashe, I'll explain in
Ashe.
a moment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ashe. Um, anyway, so that is the Monday and Tuesday right after the 18th and the 19th. So it's the 20th and 21st. So we're going to do like a pre-conference and unconference. And Danielle has all this experience of working with the Limnicon space and doing exactly this kind of thing. And so, we're kind of emerging into places where we kind of play to our strengths and the things that we want to do in terms of the bioregional organizing. And so I was just trying to explain the pulse of these is that basically Danielle and I are probably going to be here every Monday. Um, uh, Probably not the Memorial Day is holiday here, of course. So we'll skip it that next time. But that we're starting to have more structural conversations about planning in the region and planning for this event that's in October. And then the ones that I'm advertising in the design school, I really am, holding open for people to find us and be able to find each other. And then, that's that. With that said, Danielle, do you think it's possible we could have that email newsletter out by May 30th, like the end of the month of May, so that people would have a June calendar in hand on June 1st? Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Okay, cool. So we will, but we won't be meeting on Memorial Day. So I've been emailing things to RegenMidwest@gmail.com of, events that we know about. Tyler, uh, we'll get you that email address. I know you're probably installing an appliance right now, but the different kinds of things that we have, coming up on the calendar, I'm just kind of sending out, if I've got a link to it, I will have some graphics and things thank you, Danielle, that I'll be able to attach and give more, depth, like here, something that can be, ooh, I guess I'm already thinking like about social media presence. I mean, I created a Hilo account. Mighty Networks is, a social network, but if there are Instagram or Facebook, we do have a Facebook presence. Tiffany has a Facebook group called RegenerateMKE, and as this emerges, we'll create whatever other communication structures will emerge out of that. Another thing I wanted to, so did I say everything I needed to say about calendars and emails? Okay, moving on. So something that I am that I've been working on, and I will have a graphic about soon, is the June 20th Wisconsin Women in Conservation event. I'm hosting a potluck at my home in Milwaukee. It's like noon to 3 that day, and we're going to pull in some speakers related to the Milwaukee Urban Women's Garden, the Urban Garden Group. I met this person who used to be in the diplomatic corps. I went to the Midwest Climate Summit a couple weeks ago, and gave a little presentation about permaculture storytelling and connected with this person who is working on biodiversity credits for the Mississippi Flyway wildlife corridor. And so we're piloting something with, like I'm getting a couple of little different entities together, and I'm hoping she'll be able to speak at this event June 20th. And then I also want to make it like stretch it into being like a weekend if people want to come. I live in this enormous house and I have a yard. If people wanted to camp there too, we could have like a slumber party because the rest of my family's going out of town. And so I kind of want to open it up to be a mini immersion, and we can build it around this event. We also have another a film event going on with the Let's Dig In regenerative film series that will be the last one of our spring film series. And so that's on the Saturday of that. And then I'm doing a walk in it's Pride. Uh, so we have like an LGBT history, like an easy walk that we're doing in Milwaukee, my sister and I, on that Sunday. And so anyway, I'm thinking of it as like a creatives retreat or something, but maybe that's way too much. But if you have any inclination towards doing something like that, let me know, and we'll make it be something. And so those are the things that I wanted to talk about today.
Uh, nice, Karen. What are you thinking for the camp out and like creatives collective
Yeah, I would. Well,
hang?
I was in 2020. I was planning on having a writing retreat and having a bunch of I in 2019 I got to go to a writing retreat in New Mexico, and I was like, I'm going to host the next one. But of course, 2020, I was not able to host a thing the way that I thought I would be able to do. And so it's been in the back of my mind, like if I get a chance to just throw out, like if people want to come and do anything, if you want to bring knitting project, or you want to do, I've got musical instruments, if you want to do writing, but to have sort of this bit about this bit about the bioregional weaving and throwing parties and feeding people element built into uh, these discrete events that happen to all coincide that weekend. And I was sort of thinking about how when Stacia was at the WeWork conference, you had said that you were staying with a friend or something like that. And I'm like, I like staying with friends when I go to things, or having that option of doing a homestay, or having that kind of interaction. And maybe that's, I don't know. Tell me what you think.
I love it. I just live far from you, and
And
yeah, don't
yeah, it might
mind. I'd love
make
to.
it possible for people who are like, I'm not going to drive all the way from La Crosse, and like, maybe you might want, but I don't know. And
No, the drive isn't bad for me, but I'm flying out, so I just can't squeeze in. If it was a normal drive, yeah, I would be, I'd be there.
I'm going to be out of town.
okay, okay, no worries. So, but I do have the afternoon event going on, and that is an opportunity for me to tie in a couple of other weaving opportunities. And Tiffany said she's on board, and Brandis, who does food justice stuff here in Milwaukee, is on board. And so I've got Laura Michelle, who is Beyond Organic. She works with UW Platteville, University of Wisconsin Platteville. She's got some high tunnels there. She's bringing a salad bar, so I've got farm to table local veggies that are at least it's a potluck. Like WeWick has decided to do these potlucks throughout the summer, and generally they're at farms. Um, women in conservation who are kind of showing off, like, here's our perennial, hazelnut grove, and whatever kind of conservation elements that they may have associated with their property. And I'm like, I've got a house. It's across the street from a park. But I know of all these cool, I've been collecting, Anna, I've been collecting stories about what I'm calling regenerative storytelling, permaculture storytelling. Like, any organization in my watershed in the Milwaukee River area that does something related to, like, reducing waste. Like, there's a group called Plastic Free Milwaukee, for example, and like, they're so cool, and I want everybody to know that that's the thing. And they've got a website listing of the river friendly businesses that are going out of their way to try to reduce single-use plastic and reusable materials and stuff like that. So anyway, it's a way of, and that's part of what I have my notes from when Tiffany and I met, and how we were um, thinking about things like book clubs and anyway, kind of tying together a lot of different elements in different ways.
I was at the Fight Oligarchy event on Saturday
Yeah.
last week in La Crosse. And at the end, we had small groups, and one of them was on food. And I met a Fight Plastic Viroqua woman.
Awesome.
Same organization, different branch. Yeah. No, it was so nice to, again, connect with people that I'm like, oh, I have a date with one of the girls next week. Yeah, just like-minded people. Yay. I'm having trouble finding them in La Crosse. Everybody's like, oh, I'm in Madison. Even at that event, I'm in Madison. I'm like, God dang it. Madison people.
How far are you from the Twin Cities?
3-ish hours, 2
Okay.
hours and 45 minutes. Madison is closer,
Okay.
by a few minutes.
And
Anyways, we're gonna make something in La Crosse. We're gonna catch up with y'all.
well, and the driftless is between us and you. I mean, the driftless area was kind of Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota is its own evolved
Yeah, I'm in
identity.
the heart of it, or in the brain of it, maybe. I'm a little high, but anyways, yes, we're very driftless. It's very beautiful. And I love the WeWick events, so I love that you're pulling from ideas that you've pulled from there. I think it's going to be great. I'm cheering you on.
Yeah, at the
And even if you get one or two, it doesn't matter the size, Even if you get no one, even if you get no overnighters, but just visitors. Yeah,
I think we'll get a lot. I
I
feel
hope
like
so.
it, and I hope that it's people from across Milwaukee. I think um, I'm gonna, kind of tap into the people in the city of Milwaukee who are doing the food waste reduction and composting, the Fair Future movement, which is an outgrowth of the or related to the environmental justice, Milwaukee Environmental Justice Alliance, the Milwaukee Water Commons. I mean, just when I kind of think about, all all my favorite people, and whether or not they come, just sort of, it's almost like playing a symphony or something where like these are the different voices of the string section and the oboe and the trumpet, they're all combining to sing this song about how much we care about our city and the ways that we're tending to it.
Can I ask? I didn't catch where Danielle, you're located. Are you also in
Mhm.
Milwaukee?
I'm in Illinois. It's a town
Okay.
called DeKalb. It's outside of the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay. I don't know if now would be a good time to jump in real quick and ask y'all about something. So, hi, my name's Anna. I'm out in Cascadia on Squamish land, kind of in the greater Seattle metro area. And I work for an organization called Degrowth Institute, which is headquartered in Chicago. If anyone is familiar with the degrowth movement, well, nods all around. We know what degrowth is. Anyone not know what degrowth is?
What degrowth as a word is, but I didn't know it was an organization. I'll look it up.
It is. It is now a funded nonprofit. It used to be a very unfunded collective for many years. But we're hosting a gathering this summer in Chicago called D School 2025. I'll send you guys our website and the event overview. But I've been thinking a lot because there's a lot of academics in the degrowth movement coming from kind of the ecological economics world. I'm coming from the social movement building world where I want to know what degrowth actually looks like. And to me, it's decolonization and bioregionalism. So I've got like a personal vested interest in getting people interested in bioregionalism to our conference talking about bioregionalism in the degrowth movement and how that can be a way forward and what bioregionalism actually means economically and culturally and politically. Um, so I thought I would try to connect with some folks in the Great Lakes area to see if anyone's interested in coming, maybe talking about that. If you guys know any great organizations in that area, that we should invite. This just seemed like a good place to start because I'm tasked with a lot of our programming and I live on the West Coast and my knowledge of people in the Great Lakes area is pretty slim beyond like some of the, pipeline fights. So, yeah, so I just thought, float this to y'all and no pressure whatsoever. Just wanted to kind of put it on your radar and see if you know of anybody, if y'all want to come, love to have you.
What's
If you
the
have any
date?
questions. July 26th to 29th. And I saw that there was a talk of having some sort of gathering on the 25th on that Mighty Networks channel. And I was like, oh, that'd be so cute if there was like a Milwaukee thing the 25th and y'all caravan down. No pressure, just my brain's, going that direction.
26th or
I'm
29th?
not in Chicago, but it looks great from what you've sent.
Well,
And you've come to the right place, and so many people are over there.
yeah, it should be really fun.
There's a WeWick thing on the 25th in Clinton, Wisconsin, which I think is up northish. I'm not sure. I'll have
Yeah,
to
and
look.
like my Wisconsin knowledge is
Wisconsin.
very, got an ex-boyfriend in Madison, and that's about the extent of my knowledge of the state. Or something I was going to say.
So how are you involved in this from where you are?
I
I missed that
sorry,
connection.
what was the end of
I
that
missed the
question?
connection between this thing happening in Chicago and what you do. Are you part of degrowth
I
where you
work for
are?
Degrowth Institute. I do kind of media comms and outreach, and I'm on the team organizing this conference. And then I'm also in the design school and kind of the Regenerate Cascadia organizing world. And I'd really love to bring these two movements together. So I just had a thought of like jump on a call with some Midwest folks and figure out what's happening there and try and make some connections. So if you have any like newsletters or anything, feel free to send this out. Yeah, if you have any organizations in mind, feel free to contact them or let me know. I'll drop my work email in the chat. And I hope y'all don't mind me hopping on your call to chat about all this.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, no, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, let's weave some more of these movements together.
I was going to say that's exactly what these calls are for in my brain.
Cool. I was just at the BioFi conference in
I
Seattle
was
this
I was
weekend.
gonna say, yeah,
It was amazing. I'm feeling really inspired and so much hope and so much sense of like, there's just something profoundly resonant about being in a whole hall of people who all get it and are all working towards it and are all passionate about it, that like this energy reverberates and you're like, Trump ain't shit. You know, like we have what we need to move forward and really build the world we want to build in. And so that was inspiring. Um, oh, and I wanted to say I'm a capoeirista. So when you were talking about capoeira, I was like, oh my gosh. And ashe is a word that comes from candomblé. It's sort of like a beautiful energy. Like it's like good vibes, but kind of a deeper, more spiritual understanding of it. So when you talk about one of your goals in the Hada and capoeira is to create ashe, to really like build that beautiful energy. It's not about winning and losing. It's about playing a beautiful game. So I got really excited when you're like decolonization, imagination, and samba and capoeira. I was like, what?
Anna,
Clearly, this is a little
come come to
synchronous.
Milwaukee for this event.
When will it be?
It'll be October 20th and 20th. The presentation will be October 20th if it gets accepted.
Okay. Um, I,
Zach
I
and
I can't plan that far ahead yet, but maybe. I've got to come to Chicago in July for this, and then I've got to come back to the West Coast to finish a permaculture design course, and then I'm like, oh, is it? That's a lot of travel, but we'll see.
I
That
just
does sound lovely. I can send you folks, and I will tell folks about it and try and get them there for sure.
love this. I love this. Yeah. Well, I met Zach at in the permaculture design course through the design school,
Hmm.
and he lives, or at the time lived in Columbia, so I got to meet him in person, him and his wife in person when I was there for the immersion, and they're awesome. And then I was like, come visit Milwaukee. And
Yeah.
since then, they've also Zach's family is in the DC area, so they have or they have moved to the DC area now and have said we're coming to Milwaukee. So I know they'll be here for the 18th and 19th, and that's why he does different kinds of the martial arts stuff related to capoeira,
Hmm.
and I have been super excited about samba
Yeah.
and kind of learning the history about as a musician and learning the history about like the resistance movement.
Hmm. Song
Uh,
and Cowboy too. Yeah, it's fascinating.
And that's where he and I came up with the idea for giving this presentation. And
Oh, that's so cool.
I hope that your reaction is the reaction that this, selection committee has, because it felt
Yeah.
really out there to be like, we're going to talk about stretching your body to get ready to condition yourself for gardening. But
Hmm.
also, when you're squatting or you're doing, these different kinds of movements, that is part of preparation and that we're tying in, like I said, to
That's really innovative and very cool. And I'm really excited for what comes of that.
yeah.
Okay, I'll probably let y'all get on with your regularly scheduled meeting, but thank you so much for letting me drop in and share this event. And if y'all can make it to Chicago, I'd love to see you and feel free to keep in touch. You have my links and email in the chat. And thank you all for the work you're doing. It was really lovely to meet you all. Bye.
Be
Thanks.
well. Be well.
Bye. Thanks.
Take care.
Well, that is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of, as Danielle said, that's exactly the kind of thing we hope would happen, is the kind of knitting across and seeing us as a resource, as a, the beacon saying, if you want to come and talk about something going on in Chicago or in Eau Claire or in, anywhere, that this might be the closest place to put the word out. And then, linking that with what Danielle is, I think, haven't been looking in the chat, but I'm assuming there's all these great, things dropped in here that can go right into the calendar. And I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but throw email addresses at us too. If there are people that you know who um, may want to be on a monthly mailing list with calendar events, who would consent to it. Don't just um, I'd like to have a clean email list that we're putting together, not
Mhm.
so we don't spam people.
I have someone in mind, but I would like to take something to her, not give you something.
Oh yeah,
I'd
and
like a little blurb
I
to
think
share. Remember we went to Illinois for that Basil's Harvest event on agriculture, nutrition, and health a couple weeks ago, and she's up near Chicago somewhere. But there was a lot of people that came from that area that I think would like to know about what's developing here.
so. Danielle, so we're going to send a list of links and calendar events in, I guess, like a narrative form as an email, but can we have like as Stacey's saying, I'm thinking of it as a blog post, but a permanent website link that you can click to, or even a calendar, the Google Calendar for Regen Midwest that looks like a calendar with links on it that we could share that calendar. Maybe that's something I would see in my Google Calendar, right? If you make, oh, you're muted.
The calendar can be shared with whoever wants to be on it. Like people can add it to
Yeah,
their own.
like right now I just synced uh the design school calendar with my calendar. I subscribed to our calendar.
So that's just a matter of inviting people to subscribe to the Midwest calendar. Can you,
I'm
Danielle,
not sure that's what I'm asking for exactly because I don't want people to have to. I'm talking about the newsletter.
and
Like,
that
will they be separate? 'Cause-
one thing that I've done, and we don't have to do it this way, but when I promote the easy walks and paddles in Milwaukee, I I have a blog called Easy Walks and Paddles in Milwaukee, and each blog entry is the monthly, here's what's happening in June and calendar, here's what's happening in July. And so you can kind of, well,
I
actually,
mean, so first, can I just ask a question? Is that something we want? Because as I started to look more into this, what I started to notice was it seems very oversaturated with newsletters. So I guess my first question is a newsletter something that would even be helpful? Or is just a calendar something that we want and people can add the calendar to theirs, like the design school one? Or like what do people want? Because I'm realizing as you're sending me newsletters, how many newsletters there already actually are, and is this going to add, like, for the amount of work that it's going to take to do this, is this going to be value added, or is there a different way that people could get this, and
I think it's
what
two
information?
levels for me. I'm already a member. I already figured out this whole design school thing and I joined. I was I was thinking of people who aren't in the design school. So if I'm in the design school, for me, I just want a calendar. I know what I want to attend, but I thought the newsletter was going to be something sort of just general, um,
and
that
news.
somebody who's not in design school could get, enjoy like how I started. I met you and you're like, "Oh, we have this call every 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds cool. Let me try it." So I came at it from outside the design school and then went into the design school and do want to be on that calendar. So I do like it just showing up in my calendar and I can say yes or no. But I'm looking to people outside the design school, a little blurb that says, "Here's what we're doing. Here's how you can join."
So for like these meetings, see, I'm getting really
I
confused on
think
what
it
to
is.
want actually. Like I don't see Regen Midwest as like necessary.
well, I don't know. I don't see what I'm doing as necessarily like design school specific. For me, I found the design like kind of like Stacia, I found the design school through there and they're talking about bioregioning. And I found Karen and Tiffany who are doing Regen Milwaukee and want to do Regen Midwest. But I don't think that's where my strengths or passions like I'm an adult development person. I'm a leadership development person, not a food system or regenerative practices. Like I like to help here because I'm a weaver and those are the things that I'm weaving in as but yeah, so I'm trying to wrap my brain around design school versus like in my brain it was here was about just bringing anybody from around the Midwest who's doing pro-social regenerative work, whether or not they're in the design school or not, correct? That's what these meetings are.
Yep.
Okay. Um,
And that's what I thought we were having the newsletter for, is our thing right here, right now. And that's what I
So-
wanted to invite my friends to in the area.
to the newsletter or to the call?
This. Well, to this call, which I thought was going to be linked to the newsletter. So I
Okay.
also didn't connect this. It's only because it was posted in the design school today that I saw this link. But I think that's just a notice in the design school, right?
If you RSVP to an event, you'll get a reminder 10 minutes before, or in the Daily Digest or something like that. However you're receiving your content from the design school, it gives you the link.
So do we have anybody outside of Wisconsin or Illinois?
Well, like people in the design school who have RSVP'd, but I haven't seen them in a couple of calls. Some of them can't come on Monday afternoons, like Sunshine, who lives in Madison. Julian and Kathy Sipple have been coming to these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have their own kinds of things that are happening in Western Michigan and Northern Indiana, respectively, that they might be having their own kind of, calls like this rather than, like I can imagine people will be shifting back and forth. Like there will come a time when Stacey's going to be like, I love you guys, but I've got all this stuff going on in lacrosse and I need to focus much more closely, and that will flow in and out of being like thinking at the Midwest scale versus thinking at the hyper local or, different or, whatever. I mean, Stacia lives in two continents that, however our attention is going to be directed in different places at different times. But I think, for now, I would say because they have RSVP, because Julian and Kathy have RSVP'd to these spaces, I would say it's inclusive of Illinois and Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, and even a Minnesota one too. But I think I don't think she's attended in person. I think she's she's RSVP'd. But to your point,
Yeah.
I like. Oh, and I just noticed that it says book club for the name of this link. I'm not sure why I have that named this way. Um, I I'm and this is permaculture too, right? I'm interested in the margins and the permeable boundaries, and the design school is a defined group of people who are paying $5 a month to be on the different calls and do the things that we're doing there. And then, the Venn diagram, then there's also people who are, as you're saying, doing cool stuff in the community. Maybe they don't want to pay $5 a month, or they don't have the time or the capacity, or they just, this isn't that isn't something the direction they want to go. This particular Zoom does not have a gatekeeping element to it. And so it creates, it's my personal KLMKE consulting Zoom account that I use. And so I like that it has the permeability of bringing people in who, aren't ready to join a thing, but they want to hop on a call just like Anna did. But she's in the design school.
So
I'm
what
okay.
do we
I'm okay with that. I mean, it still sounds like we're independent, but design school might come, or some other school might come, or all sorts of people might come. I like it. But I did, I connected with the Midwest. And it sounds like if we have Minnesota and Illinois and Indiana and Michigan, that, it's still going to connect with Midwest for many of us over Great Lake, Michigan, Western Shore biweekly. But we might not have gotten the Chicago girl to come if, she didn't see the Great Lake, Michigan, Western. She's probably thinking, oh, Chicago's right there. So
So what would be
let people
helpful
get
for people in the newsletter? Just events?
I'm realizing the word newsletter connotes, like an introduction or articles or something, newsletters seem to be a little, even the paper version of, something that's multi-page and has a story in it or recipe, who knows, like it could be a lot more complicated and involved than what we had originally talked about this being. And when I do my monthly email blurb and deciding what it is it an email, is it a newsletter, is it a calendar update? To me, when I'm doing my easy walks and paddles, I just want to get, here's what's coming up that's on my radar about this paddle's coming up and this walk is coming up. And then coming up in September, these other things are happening too, just to kind of say it out loud. But it doesn't really have anything that's more, I mean, I guess when I did the intro to a list of events with links is what you probably get my email. Like when I send out my and Regenerate MKE emails, that is the format that I've been doing. I don't know that it's effective or that I couldn't do it better, of course, but that's how I was thinking about it.
Okay. I just want to send out something that will be helpful and useful to everybody. And
So, Stacia, that thing, if it's an email, you could forward it to people whose email you have. But if you wanted to say, here's a link to go and see what um, the most recent email was, that's where a blog post, where basically all I do is I copy and paste the content of the email into the blog post. And so that's a standalone email. So, because sometimes email chains or if it's getting forwarded to a person or I
well,
don't
what
know.
I do, I'll put it in the email, I'll put a subscribe link, like a subscribe to the email and a subscribe to the calendar link. So anybody people forward it to, they can, if they choose to, after seeing it, then go and put their own email on there and then be on the list after that.
Okay. Does that sound good, Stacia?
Yeah, I'm just looking at my email to see if I get that other thing from you. I don't see it. I just get the Regen Midwest check-in at the moment. But yeah, I would say keep it simple, just I love the clever things you've come up with so far for little names. Doesn't have to be newsletter. Um, yeah, Regen Midwest, useful resources and I don't know, useful stuff. Useful.
When Tiffany and I were talking about like what the website would do, I'm like, what should the website be able to do if there's a Regen Midwest website that exists at some point in the future? And one of the things she talked about was how, having links to local businesses, local restaurants, local, things. And I was like, oh gosh, this is starting to sound, complicated and redundant. but I think, having I'm in this very analog, I feel very analog about things. Like when I was looking at Tiffany's beautiful drawing, and I thought she could sell prints of this colorful drawing that is a map of the restaurants or something like that. That to me is, or ask for a donation or something like that. But having like physical paper things to me feel more real than like a digital update, needs to be updated kind of linking of links. That's just how I was feeling today when I was thinking about the harvest of what it is to talk about mapping a region, and then having a website that talks about that. But I like, to me, I have this preference for physical local things.
I'm a little opposite. I love electronic. I think it's because I don't have a home. I do have homes, but I'm here and there. So I do love that, but it just doesn't fit in my life. So is that like walking around a fair or something? I'm like, oh, do you have a QR code? Do you have a QR code? And I'm constantly collecting and organizing electronic things. And of course, I don't know, what's it going to be? It's going to form into something as we see what people like and give feedback on. Because you're going to have two people in the same room, like Karen and Stacia. She wants a physical, and I want a electronic.
And I think we can do both.
Hmm.
I've been making these my permaculture stories, and it's 4 sheets of paper. It's a zine, basically. I'm making these little zines so people can take notes about what does it mean to observe and interact and stuff like that. And
Oh, nice.
because I want to have, and I mean, I could print a book. I figured out how to do that, and get an ISBN and all that. But I can also just have sheets of paper, and people can draw their own zine. Like it can be
Yep.
very DIY. It could be very polished, and print. I've got a printer I could use. It can be the whole range of different things, and I definitely appreciate I mean, if not for the digital worlds of Zoom and the ways that we've met each other through the design school and whatnot, like Station, I'm meeting each other before we met in person. Like we wouldn't have this if we didn't have the digital. But like to me, there's something also about just reinforcing the physicality of things that makes things real for me, because like I'm trying to, anyway, yeah, I mean, I do like both, but I'm also trying to make physical things that people take away with them, that that have a life of their own, like that. If I printed out an 8.5 by 11 maps of something that exists in a digital interactive way, um, that there's something about how it may end up in a recycling bin, but it may end up on someone's refrigerator, or it may end up, as a piece of art or an artifact
True, true.
on a conference room, tacked up on, a bulletin board somewhere that a lot of people see. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
There's,
I have an aunt who's very, very arty. So she sends me cards like that one, and I love it. I don't know if you can see the drawing that she's done.
oh, wow. Oh, I love it. I love the colors.
Yeah. And they're always texture. So she's layered on one thing onto another thing onto another thing. It's almost like a painting she drew and then drew herself a background. I don't know. The textures of it are so neat. I love looking at it. Three different layers. So Women for Peace. Look at that's us three people. Oh, it's backwards. That says Women for Peace.
I can read it.
Gloria Larson.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific.
Yes, I do like physical things too. Can touch it. Yep.
Danielle, did we answer your question about
Yeah, I'll do the first one and then I'll solicit feedback.
everything's emergent?
Well, it was good to connect with you. I always think of things after I hang up, trying to think what else happened this week. My mom was here for a week, so it's my first day of like, yeah, not half working and half being with her, running around the area showing her things. Probably my highlight this week was having DNR come. I called and asked for a person to come out and walk with me through the woods. And they're really happy with the way that we're managing our woods and that we're on the right track and just got all this, yeah, going in the right direction, which my husband felt like anyway. It was more for me to ask my questions, but just to walk with somebody who has so much knowledge. He doesn't have any understory knowledge, um, but doesn't have to know everything. And he was a Peace Corps volunteer as well. And he lives in my community. He lives like down the street. So it was just a fun little part of our regeneration. Our land is going in a good direction. It's 14 acres that we're on here.
Wow.
Yep. I suppose Milwaukee doesn't have a lot of 14 acres.
Ah, I
In
should
the
check
city.
what the acreage across
Maybe some of the park.
the park. Uh, uh, um, the whole city is about 100 square miles, um, and there are some bigger parks in the city, and there is a state forest within the city limits, and that has some significant acreage, but I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. If look up Havenwood State Forest and see, which is where I want to host the October 18th. I want to do part of the 18th and 19th at the State Forest, which is open to the public. You don't need a State Forest sticker. I also want to get
On it.
a bubbler bike pass code, which is like when I was in Madison for the conference a couple weeks ago, they had a $10 code to have access to their bike sharing program for the entire the duration of the conference, the 3 days of the conference. And so that was, I liked the way they incentivized that, and it was super fun using the bikes. And then they're all electric, so I just feel like an 8-year-old when I get on an electric bike. I'm just like I can do, I can fly.
Never been on an electric bike.
Well, when you come to visit Milwaukee, we'll have our bike code.
Okay.
You can ride your bike. So the image behind me is the South Shore Trail that is about half a mile from my house. There's a bike station where you can get on one of these electric bikes and ride 5 miles up and down the entire lake along Lake Michigan. And
Oh,
it's like one of my favorite things to do. And so anyway, now that it's a little bit warmer, I changed because usually I have the Great Lakes behind me, but I was like, this is this is the front cover of the book that my sister and I wrote about easy walks and paddles in Milwaukee, because this is just my quintessential favorite image from the South Side looking at the city.
beautiful. Yeah, I've never been to Milwaukee. I have to put it on my list.
Hmm. Well,
I
and
met another Milwaukee person. She was at my table at Stevens Point. Begins with a J. Joyce? Huh. She's Nigerian. So I met her, one of the first people when I came. I'm like, Nigeria, it's Africa, yay. So we had a call, and then have just kept in touch. But yeah, she's trying to do gardens in Nigeria. So I'll
Awesome.
come over and see you too.
Do it.
Danielle, I don't know how far are you from Milwaukee?
2 hours. There's nothing to see here, so
We'll do a big triangle tour. We'll visit all of us and across and to come. Well, I mean, certainly come in October. Put it on your calendar. I know not everyone can plan off in the distance,
Yeah.
but Danielle's going to be here, so we could all.
I fly back the week after. I fly back October 31st.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Okay.
but next year.
Next year.
November is November is very busy for us with hunting season. And it's our 30th anniversary, wedding anniversary, so we'll probably do something.
Wow, congratulations.
And he'll want me not to be planning stuff that month. He's like, I got you back. Don't go running away.
Well, I
All
kind
right,
of
ladies.
I kind of shut down right after the Halloween too. It's the indoor quiet time for me. But yeah, let's close our call and thank you again for visiting. And like I said, Danielle and I we'll all be taking 2 weeks off, and we'll jump back in and see you in 2 weeks. Have a great day.
Okay.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.